I'm Ed Lawrence from Greenwich.
Okay.
We're sitting in our living room with Christian.
And I'm Millicent Lawrence, his wife. And we live on a 90-acre farm outside of Greenwich, New York, which is north of Albany.
To be as green as we can.
Why?
Because we're
Still
running out
can.
of oil, for one thing, and the environmental changes that are happening. And we do believe in global warming, which is man-affected, as opposed to a normal natural cycle, which is probably coming too, but we are certainly, as civilization, are making it come faster than by a natural process, I believe. We did it just for the sake of the planet, really.
And for the future, hopefully for a future. It was built in 1980, and self-sufficiency was really a dream I'd had for a long time. And
Well,
it kind of pushed us in this direction.
We had been living in a big old Victorian house that burned about 3,000 gallons of oil a winter.
Wow. How big was that? How many square foot?
About 3,200, I think it was.
I think that's right.
Pretty big.
Had a midlife crisis and changed my occupation slightly. And so we could downsize from the house and build a house that we really wanted.
And we just happened to be really lucky and have a friend who had taught our kids to swim when they were young. And he'd gone off to college and majored in environmental science or something of that sort, and was working with Ed O'Hanlon of Advanced Cooler, who was building these energy efficient houses. So we talked with Jim Niles,
Okay.
and he's the one who really brought us to this house, helped us to build this house.
So it's a ground up
Yes.
It's a
type of
ground up.
situation.
Yep.
Gotcha. And what was important to you when you were in that process of building from the ground up?
To
You
live
mentioned
off the land.
sustainability.
To live off the land
Okay.
was really the dream. And this was in 1980. There wasn't a lot of that sort of thing happening. But it is that Ed O'Hanlon had done a building with GE Research. Well, he really was building coolers for apples and beverages, and he knew that if you
Storehouses, warehouses.
if you had this contained building with no heat, it never froze. And he thought, well, gee, I bet we could do this with houses. So he did one with GE. Nobody lived in it. It was just a building.
Okay.
And it didn't freeze. And I saw that on the television, in the news hour, and I thought, up here in the North Country? I don't think so.
Right.
But it really,
really worked.
doesn't freeze. It's true. It doesn't freeze.
The heating and cooling ability.
Our stress skin panels,
What's that?
well, it's our urethane foam panels, which are all one piece. They're 4 inches thick, made of a urethane foam with an R rating of 40. The house is basically a post and beam house with the panels between them, 4 feet on center. And so we have a total insulation package. The roof has 50R,
R50.
and the sides of the house and the foundation and under the cellar is all R40. Well,
Pieces.
they're structural panels,
Okay.
so they have a snow load, and they even hold our PVs, which we have now,
Wow.
and our solar domestic hot water collectors. And so there's a lot of weight up there, but in fact they built the chimney right on them without having a footing in it,
That's insane.
because they are that good.
Wow.
We have a 17-inch wood stove, which supplies all the extra heat we need, and we burn a total of 2 cords a winter on average as supplemental heat. The rest of our heat comes from our greenhouse,
Sun.
which is the sun, and the hot air from the greenhouse is pumped by electric motor down into the cellar, which acts as a plenum to mix the air from the house and the greenhouse, and another blower down there pumps it through 100 tons of sand. It's bank run gravel as a heat sink, and that circulates through the house as tempered air by that time. And so we have extra heat coming from the greenhouse essentially, and the wood stove sometimes when it's really cold. But it keeps the house, the second floor of the house, just as nice and warm as the cellar.
In January, December?
We don't need it until November and not after March usually.
Okay.
Yeah. And in the wintertime, in the evening when the sun goes down and the temperature really drops, we usually have it mostly for coziness, but it's not essential because the house really, even when we go away, the house hasn't ever gotten below 55 in the wintertime. But we'll go out and it'd be 20, and sometimes I think the lowest we have here that we've recorded on a minimum outdoor thermometer was something like 35 below a couple of years after we were first here. And we were watching and monitoring everything at that point. And but inside we were still nice and cozy and warm.
That's great.
The only active part of the solar system is the blower to circulate the air through the house. And that does stabilize the house, especially.
So are there vents then?
Essentially, it's a hot air system in the house, which comes out of the heat sink. And the heat sink tempers everything. By the same token, in the summertime, the outside air is warmer than the heat sink. So it acts as our air conditioner.
How so?
And because if the outside is too hot, it goes through the heat sink and is
Cooled off.
And is cooled off. At the same time, it warms up the heat sink for our use in the fall and winter.
Okay.
Because of NYSERDA it made it easy for us to do. And we were very happy to take advantage of that opportunity.
Gotcha.
But we're still, our philosophy was to live as green as we could.
What made you decide on renewable power systems to do the installation? Did you look around at different?
Oh, I can tell you about that part.
Okay.
After we found out about NYSERDA, I searched it on the internet and found out that we should have 3 suppliers. We should interview 3 different people. And so we tried to find people in the area, and one of them happened to be Renewable Systems, but we didn't go with them right away. And there were a couple in Vermont. And during the process of thinking about it, Renewable Power suggested that we go and talk to Dave Borton, who was putting in a system exactly like we were thinking about doing. Dave Borton, of course, is a professor of solar engineering at RPI, so that sounded like a pretty good source. And of course, we were curious to see his house also. So we went down and met David and Harriet, and the comment there was that, oh, the inspector came and looked at their system after it was installed and said, oh, I know these people, they're really good. That's all we had to hear right there. So we were set.
Very good.
And they were local for service too.
And they've been great.
Great.
They have been great.
Great. Solar
Kyocera's.
Kyocera's. Okay, how many?
We have 18 of 160 watts apiece. And so we have 3 banks of 48 volts.
Going through a single inverter or multiple inverters?
A single inverter.
Okay. You were using before?
It's supposed to produce 43% of our total use.
I think it's done better than that.
But for July and August of this year, our bill to National Grid was only $27 for each month.
And that's delivery. That's
And
not any power.
Mostly delivery charges. This is our PV system. Down here are batteries. We have deep cycle batteries.
So in a power outage, when the grid
outage,
goes down.
we have 4 or 5 days worth of power,
Okay.
and we wired the house circuits so our refrigerator, our deep freezer, our 220 volt pump, our microwave are automatically shifted over to the battery. This is the photovoltaic power coming in over here, and this is an inverter, I believe, and it hooks into the 120 volt system over here somehow.
Okay. Turns the DC current into an AC current.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, the photovoltaics are all DC current. This is a net metering device.
This meter measures the amount of clean renewable energy produced from the solar panels on Ed and Millie's roof. The Lawrences installed their PV system in November of 2005, and in 23 months they produced 9.6 megawatt hours of electricity. This represents 420 watt hours per month average, And at 13 cents a kilowatt hour, this equals $54.64 savings per month average in their electric bill. From a global warming standpoint, 9,667 kilowatt hours, equivalent to 9.6 megawatt hours, produced from the sun has eliminated the production of over 13,500 pounds of carbon dioxide. This according to a 2001 EPA report indicating that 1 kilowatt hour of electricity generated from a natural gas power plant in the Northeast produces 1.4 pounds of CO2. Natural gas is the cleanest burning, lowest carbon producing fossil fuel.
The solar collector for the hot water tempers the water in the wintertime, and then electricity brings it up to where we want it.
Okay, as a preheat. Gotcha.
But it makes a big difference, even in the middle of winter. Why the circulator from the domestic hot water collector is working. We have two panels, 4x8 panels, with copper tubing winding in and out, back and forth. We have a 82-gallon soapstone lined hot water tank.
Where is it?
Well, it's up just under the roof. It's on the second floor.
Okay.
It's not in the basement.
There you go.
And it's
Well,
it's
so
heavy,
far.
heavy, but our post and beam house is structurally sound and took it. And it has its own coil in the bottom of the tank where the propylene glycol is circulated and heats the water from the bottom. So it heats the whole tank. Then the electric booster is about 1/3 of the way down from the top, and when it comes on, it only heats by convection the top third of the 82 gallons, which is pretty nice design when it was built. It's been a beautiful sunny day. The power does not come on because that's thermostatically controlled, and we can get easily more than 2 good showers and do the dishes at night with a single tank full of water. We haven't had the electric booster on all summer long, from July until just recently. We used it for a day or two and we had an extended period of cloudy weather. We did it just for the sake of the planet, really.
And for the future, hopefully, for a future.